Hola. Hola.
Hola!
¿Cómo está? Bien,
We
bien.
are live.
We are.
Welcome to Late Night Snacks.
Oh, yeah, yeah. What up, what up?
We are back with
Look at
Snacks
that.
Goes to the Theater.
Yes, we do. Thursday night, evening performance.
Mhm. We are on
Tonight,
episode 6.
are we on episode 6 already?
We are.
Ah, let's get it out. Things get growing a little bit.
Yep.
Gonna be joining us tonight. No. No.
I don't know yet.
What the hell
We're
is
going to have
this?
to wait and see.
Trying to figure out where this damn book is. And I have all these books. I don't have it still. Wait.
However, we will be covering tonight
Spring Awakening.
Spring Awakening.
Ooh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Spring Awakening is a musical that I don't have my book to. Damn it. I'm mad now. I gotta find the other bag. So, Spring Awakening. I don't have my playbills. All my playbills are good.
You
Oh,
just had them the other day.
I know. Anyway. Oh, I should find it though. Oh, I want to share. So, Spring Awakening is a film. A film. It's a play based on a book. And we need to look at when that book was published because that's important. And I was going to.
All right. Well, I'm going to
It's
share
a
my
book.
screen. I
The
do
book
have.
is about the book is about teenage angst, teenage coming of age, and basically teenage dealing with sexuality and the effects of sexuality when they don't have the information to deal with sexuality.
Right.
Um, and the book is so in depth in the ramifications and the societal problems that causes that ironically the book was banned in a lot of places. Parents didn't want their kids reading this book to learn about sexuality when the book is about parents stopping them from learning about sexuality. Go figure. It's society. It's such an oxymoron. It's such a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful display of how fucked up our society is.
Yeah.
And the play, the musical based on the book, really taps into that sense of what hiding from the truth can cause. The
Right.
cause and effect of that, and it pulls at the heartstrings. It just shows you the real life. I think anything these kids go through, it's set in I don't even know the date set in. We're
Hold
looking
on.
at
I can let me pull up my information here because I do believe I have that.
set 19th century Germany.
Yeah. Let me pull some stuff up here.
1891. The book was published in
1891.
1891. It's a German book, and it was banned in a lot of places during that time. So yeah, it's pretty ironic. I find the whole story absolutely fascinating, and the fact that Duncan Sheik took the book, turned it into a musical, and was still able to today in 2006, I believe the musical, yeah, 2006 the musical premiered.
Yeah.
Still
It
tap into the same type of angst, the same type of ignorance causes X, Y, and Z. And we'll talk about what is all happening in the show. Uh,
oh man, I
for
had
me
everything
personally,
here. And then
Spring Awakening was my first adult Broadway theater on my own on Broadway that I got to see. I saw it on my honeymoon. Yay, honeymoon. Um, when we went to New York, and I rushed a ticket. And I had been curious about Spring Awakening. Had been hearing a lot from it. This is about a year after it opened. Well, no, it opened in late 2006. I saw it in 2008. I saw it's a
mhm.
couple years after it opened. I saw a replacement cast. It was a cast that had already taken over from the original Broadway cast. Hunter Parrish from Weeds was the lead. Was Melchior in this, taking Jonathan Gross role. If I
Yeah.
found my playbill, I will be able to share the rest of the cast that I saw. But it was amazing. And then I
Yeah.
did get to see it on tour several years later during the first national tour. And during the tour, on my birthday, I was lucky enough to sit on stage. Spring Awakening, what they have in the original production, they have two bleacher sets on this in the set within the set of the musical, and
Uh-huh.
actually they have ensemble actors dressed as regular theater goers that come in the same time you do. Pre-show, they sit next to you, everything, and they talk. They have regular communications, just like everybody else is, hobnobbing, through the theater. And then it's not in the beginning. It's like during Touch Me, which is about a third of the way into to the show. Still in Act One, but later in Act One, during the song "Touch Me," the theater goers that are with you in the bleachers on stage will stand up and start singing.
Mm-hmm.
I knew all this was going to happen. I knew exactly what seats each one of them were going to be sitting in. Being a big follower of the musical, so it's funny. I was actually kind of whispering to one of them that was sitting beside me, about the show, and she was, she knew I knew what was up. But I was so tempted, girl. I was so tempted to start singing with them. I was like, be in the show.
Yeah,
Hilarious.
the opening date for Spring Awakening was December 10th of 2006,
Yeah,
and it
I saw it.
closed in January of 2009.
Yeah, and I saw it right before it closed then, because I saw it in October of 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very fortunate. But when I saw it on stage, it was much later in the tour, during the first national tour. First national tour was this is an interesting odd cast, because a lot of people came from the Spring Awakening camp. There's Glee connections in Spring Awakening. You have
Mm-hmm.
Leah Michelle came from Spring Awakening. Jonathan Groff came from Spring Awakening. They were both pretty much unknowns in the Spring Awakening roles. And Leah went on to do Glee, and Jonathan Groff is doing everything in the world now, including Hamilton and TV shows and all that. In the tour, Andy Mietes, who is actually Michael Arden, who we will know later on, directed the Deaf West production of Spring Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
He played Hanson in the tour, and so he's got connection to the director. He's also from Smash, so there's some Smash actors that's in there. So this young group is right at that age, that Glee age, where you see a lot of Glee people and a lot of Smash people and stuff.
Here's some pictures of the cast, of the original cast.
Leah Michelle, Jonathan Groff, and
John Gallagher.
Yeah, Gallagher. Yeah, and he's gone on to do a lot of different stuff as well on Broadway. He was he did I was talking to you about Bear earlier. He did the revival of Bear. After that, he's so freaking amazing in Bear. But yeah, he's gone on to do a lot of stuff. A lot of the ensemble cast have. Because it's right at that prime age that we were kind of watching Glee and Smash and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids were big on, like, I saw Hunter Parrish do it from Weeds, still that same kind of teen age group. There's a really cool YouTube documentary special thing that existed back in the first national tour. It's called Totally Trucked, and it's based off the song Totally Fucked. But Totally Trucked is basically the cast of the first national tour. It's their documentary filming up through the whole tour. And it's really good. There's a lot of real cool backstage stuff. You get to know them. They tell a lot of funny stories, and they show everything except for glimpses of the show. The show can be seen on YouTube in many different iterations. There are Duncan Sheik is not taking these down in any way. Michael Arden is not taking these down in any way for the Deaf West production. So there are a lot of different great recordings of Spring Awakening on YouTube. So there's no excuse not to see it. I mean, it's not playing anywhere right now, or nothing's playing anywhere right now, but it's not. But there's started off off Broadway. Started off off Broadway with this pretty much the same principal cast that ended up being on Broadway. Leah Michelle, Groff, etc. Gallagher, and then it was on Broadway for the couple of years. Went on to have the first national tour, which actually I believe the first national tour of Spring Awakening started here in San Diego at the Balboa Theater. It's where it ran its previews, and then it toured, and then it came back to San Diego, and then we have then it closed after a long first national tour, and then years later in 2018, 17.
It was 16, I think.
16, okay. Michael Arden is a Broadway performer and director, and he does a lot of stuff with a company called Deaf West. And Deaf West is a deaf society here in Southern California or the West Coast that deals with deaf performers, deaf and handicapped performers, and
Mhm.
he did a revival production of Spring Awakening, incorporating full. The entire show is signed by every actor on the stage,
Yep.
and
I have some photographs from that as well.
yeah, and the story has been adapted, and we'll talk about the adaptation in a second. But the story's been adapted to incorporate deafness in as part of the plot, as part of the story. However, I don't believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I don't believe one single word has been changed. So the entire story had been adapted and really evolved around this whole sense of deafness, whereas nothing in the libretto was changed. It's so interesting. So they were able to just use the visualization and the emotion around deafness that added so much more to this story, that this story was so universal about ignorance, not ignorance, about clouding the truth, because they used the deafness in it as another character, as a character that these kids were. Some of them were deaf in school, and they
Mm-hmm.
weren't allowed to sign. They were supposed to speak, and the other kids teased them because they were deaf. And how the performers did that is each of the deaf characters. Vendela was deaf in the show. Moritz was deaf in the show, and we'll talk about who each of these characters are. One of the
Here's
boys was
here's some of the deaf cast from the other company.
well, each of them are deaf actors that play these roles, and they are accompanied by a hearing actor who does their singing voice for them. So it's almost like they have their subconscious, their voice there. And those
Right.
singing actors, they will play musical instruments. They will follow them around. They do props. They act as their ghosts, their reason. And it's never distracting on stage.
Not
It's
at all.
poignantly beautiful the way it's performed. Those voices of reason, those voices of their soul become characters themselves, and you watch them as well as watching the actual prime characters do their thing. But they were able to use the deafness in it to really impact some very, very powerful moments in the show. So let's talk about
I
the
actually
part of the show.
prefer the deaf cast.
I do too. It's
Yeah.
such a beautiful freaking production. I mean, I have my heart is with the original production because it means a lot to me.
Well, yeah, of
As
course.
far as performance and far as just watching something that really moves you, the deaf cast is amazing. That
And
interpretation is
I
absolutely.
noticed that the major headliner for the deaf cast was Cameron Manheim,
Mhm.
and I was very excited about that when I watched it. I was like, "Oh, I haven't
Cameron
seen
Manheim
it in
does
a
the
very long time."
Cameron Manheim does the singing voice for what's her face? Um, the one that's in all the shows. She was in X Files. She was in um, the Murder Show. The deaf actress, the big famous deaf actress, Marley Manton.
Oh yeah, okay. Now I got it.
Cameron Manheim was her voice actor, and she was deaf in the Marley Manton. How do you pronounce it? She
Marley
was
Matlin.
yeah, she was the deaf actress for that portion. Absolutely amazing. Um, see what how the show is presented, written. Allie's in this production as well.
Allie,
Allie made Broadway history.
yeah,
Allie is also in the what was that show called? The Glee Project.
the
When
Glee
the Glee
Project.
Project
Yeah,
was on, Ryan Murphy did a show, a reality show, which they took a bunch of aspiring actors who were basically going through a boot camp thing to audition for a role in Glee, and the winner won a role in Glee. Ironically, a lot of the runners up also got roles in Glee.
yeah.
You had Allie show up. You had what's his face? Uh,
Alec. Baldwin. Alec.
Alec Newell show up, and he's huge on Broadway now. Um, and they did really well in Glee. They all had their own little special roles. But Allie made Broadway history with Deaf West Spring Awakening because she was the first fully disabled uh, headlining performer to run an original Broadway cast. They
Mhm.
actually reformatted the theater so that she could perform in the show, and now she's doing all sorts of shows. She's
Yep.
really opened the door for handicapped people to be normalized in theater, and her role has nothing to do with her handicap
Nope.
whatsoever. There's no story plot whatsoever about her handicap. She's just part of the cast, and the choreography, everything is not written around her. She's central in the role. You forget she's in a wheelchair at times, and Allie's an amazing performer. She's a bright light. She's got amazing stage presence. I always thought she was kind of over the top on in the Glee project, but that really carries forward on the stage. She really
Right.
is able to. She's able to take her deficit, being wheelchair bound in a moving ensemble, and really come step forward. And it's a testament to her, her performance level and her professionalism. Um, so story revolves around you have an adult male and an adult female, and those actors, there's one adult male and there's one adult female performer, and they perform
Mhm.
all of the adult male and female roles throughout the entire course of the show, whether that be a teacher, a parent, whomever. And they're kind of they are the voice of God, they are the stern voice of society, and they're also the comedy relief. So it's really neat how the adults work in a child-based kind of forms. I say child, we're talking teenagers here,
Right.
young adults. And the story does take place in the same time that the book was written in early 19th century Germany, when the book was posted in 1891. And these kids are kids in a, yeah, I'd say a border school. They're segregated. The girls on one side, the boys on the other side.
Yeah, I thought
Together.
it was separate schools. Wasn't
It
it
is.
separate schools?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly. It's a girls' school and boys' school, or however you want to look at it. They're segregated. They're apart. And the the show opens with a song called "Mama Who Bore Me," which is sung
Mhm.
by the lead character, and her name is Vendela, and this was the role played by Leigh Michelle. And it opens right away telling the audience that she's curious about birth, and she's curious
Right.
about womanhood, and she's trying on this new nightgown, and she's feeling the sensuality of her body, and she's like, my sister's pregnant. I don't quite understand. I know there's something more. I know there's something blossoming in my body, but I don't get it. So she asked her mother outright, right in the beginning of the show, tell me
Mhm.
where these babies are coming from. And you can see the idiocy of the parents in this, just like turn around. They talk about storks and gifts and babies being dropped from the sky, and it's just all sorts of crazy stuff. And she couldn't even look at her daughter when she's doing this. She
I
had
know.
had to hide under her mother's apron so that her mother can lie and talk about the fantasies of sexuality. So that's how the whole show opens, showing you how this is Billy Porter, how these people are, how these young adults are treated when it comes to just the naturalism of sexuality, and then the play will
Mhm.
proceed with the dangers of what that is. Um, we go through. We have Vendela and Melchior. They are love interests. They are our Romeo and Juliet, our forbidden love. We also
And
have
they're the two leads of
yeah.
the musical itself.
Then we have Moritz, who is Melchior's best friend, who is kind of the class clown, the class kind of fuck up at school. But you find
Mhm.
out there's underlying stuff that he's not really a fuck up. He's trying, but he's just not getting there.
Right.
And then you have a group of boys and a group of girls who are friends around. Now, there is a role that is much more poignant in the book that I don't think ever truly translates well on stage, no matter what production you're looking at, no matter if it's the Deaf Fest or the stage production. And that is the role of Christina. What is her name in the show?
Isla?
Yes. Isla. She's a girl that was with them in their same age group, had been with them at a time as friends with them, going to school with them,
Yeah.
dropped out of school, joined kind of an art commune, and basically was used as a sexual object. She kind of floats in and out of the story,
Yeah,
showing
when I was watching it, I kind of felt like they didn't know what to do with her, and it
yeah.
was really
Well,
sad because
she's very poignant in the book as far as like showing you the other side, showing you the debauchery, the evil of the other side of being that young and being thrust into a world that you don't understand with sex and drugs and all that, and getting really really abused in that situation.
Mhm.
But they didn't quite go into her story. They touch on it.
Only a
She's
little
there
bit.
because she's also Moritz's voice of reason. She's also Moritz's kind of go-to person when he's into some trouble, and when she's too far gone for even to be Moritz's crutch or everything, it's the downfall of Moritz as well. So she's used in the sense, but because she's so removed from the actual story of the teens, it doesn't play well on stage. I don't think
Yeah,
it
because
does.
I noticed she wanted more from him, but he
Yeah.
wasn't catching on to it. and then it moved on to what happened next in the story.
And then you also have a group of boys that are friends and a group of girls that are friends. You kind of get an ensemble of different things.
Right.
And they goes through the topics that they touch. They talk about having sex for the first time and not understanding what that is. Child abuse. They go into that. They go into a father-daughter sexual
Right.
molestation. They go
Molestation.
into they go into physical abuse with a parent and a child. They go into homosexuality. They go into a boy in love with one of his teachers.
Right.
All of these things that we hear of and we've experienced ourselves as normal everyday life are touched on in the show to show you that when this stuff is not talked about, when it's not freely expressed, when it's not honest, so many things can go wrong, and thus they do in this show. We go from everywhere from a kid dropping out of school to committing suicide because of the things that he doesn't understand and because of the way he's treated by his parents because his parents don't understand him. We go from Elsa in the commune, who is
that part was gut wrenching for me because they had mentioned that they were going to pass 60 of the kids and they had 61, so they ended up flunking him.
Yeah, because he was always behind. He was always just that little bit behind because he was a nervous kid. He was he was probably ADD, probably a little slower on the learning curve, and yet he was left behind instead of picked up. And a lot of it was the hormones and stuff, coming in these kids at this age kind of driven by hormones, and he tells the story in the beginning. He's telling Melchior, what is this? Tell me, why am I having these dreams? Why is it consuming my every thought?
Right.
I'm going crazy, and Melchior is barely understanding anything himself. And so it's sad. Morris's story is really sad. It's the gut wrenching of the moment because his suicide comes. Spoiler alert,
Spoiler alert if you haven't watched.
Comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It creeps up on you, and then bam, it's there, and then you're dealing with the ramifications of that afterwards. Also, at the same time, she's going through. They show her drug abuse and her sexual abuse in the commune. She talks about how what a lost soul she is. She didn't get away from anything. She got into a bunch of stuff. Then you have our love interest, which is Vendela and Melchior, and they have sex for the first time, dealing with pregnancy. He gets her pregnant. He doesn't understand it. She doesn't understand it. Parents don't understand it. What's up, Kaylee?
Katie.
Katie. I thought it was Katie. I can't read.
Katie. It's not Katie.
They separate Vendela and Melchior, and they think that it's very Romeo and Juliet-esque type deal. They separate them, and Vendela dies in an abortion because her parents force her to have an abortion because they will not be deemed a misfits in society based off of her pregnancy. They would rather hold their state in the church, hold their position, and they put their daughter through an abortion. And
her parents, in my opinion, are the worst. I was just so angry at them.
And then we deal with Melchior's grief, who's coming back to take responsibility of his actions once he learns the truth. Once he learns that she's pregnant, he's happy about it, and he's coming back to take responsibility. And he finds out that nobody has told him.
Nobody told him.
Since past, and so now we're dealing with him losing his best friend to suicide and losing his girlfriend and the mother of his unborn child and his child to a botched abortion, and he's left alone in the end. And all of this, every single aspect of these people's tragedies that has befallen all this was all due to not talking freely to these children, not expressing the truth about coming of age and about sexuality. And that's really the moral of the lesson there. And that's why this book is still in place, still got a lot of problems, because some people still won't own up to that. There's people right here, right now, today, maybe even watching this show tonight, that have not been honest with their children, have not felt comfortable to talk freely open with their children. I started having sex when I was 13 years old, and I never got one piece of dialogue from my parents. So do you think I understand anything freely? Oh no, I was making up as it went along. So there all sorts of problems there. But there wasn't. Luckily, my friends were in tune. Some of my friends had great and we had great educators. But when a child is growing up, they're not expected to know these things. And look at today's media and look at today's movies and stuff. They can mix a kid all up. You hear complete falsehoods to complete truths all mixed in between. Then you have the taboo of sex in this country. It's like, oh my God, someone's naked. He. Oh gosh, don't. When sexuality is the most natural thing on the planet.
Yeah.
And so it's what the show does so well is it shows how dangerous that is. We can ooh and ah and hee and taboo about whatever we want sexually, but at the end of the line, you don't tell the truth about it. You don't talk about it freely to the young people of society. It's dangerous, and it kills people. And that's what this show so. And when you look through the eyes of these children and see the pain that they go through up to the point of these kids dying, you take a step back and you think about your own actions, your own communications with people, your own communications with your own children. And if you're on the side of the fence where you don't think it's right to talk about to young people, I can't judge anybody for how they want to raise their kids, but I can say I would reconsider your thought process.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more beautiful and natural than sex on this planet. It is the one thing that every living mammal has in common. We have in common with every mammal on the planet. We will all have sex.
And it's a natural act.
It's something that should be celebrated and not condemned. And yet we live in a Christian, God-fearing society where we want to continue to condemn that. And it's dangerous. Hence, disease, the AIDS crisis, pregnancy, all of these things stem from ignorance, from not being careful when the education is out there to be careful. What is that?
Now, in 2007, for the Tony Awards, Spring Awakening was nominated for 10 awards. They won 7 out of the 10 in 2007. This is a year after it actually went on Broadway. Huh?
They won Best Musical.
They won Best Original Score, Best Orchestrations, Best Musical, Best Lighting Design, Best Direction, Best Choreography, and Best Book of a Musical.
So no actors won from that cast. It's interesting.
There was Jonathan Groff was nominated, but he did not win, which, in my opinion, was...
Well, who won that year, though?
I don't know. It doesn't say. But he was nominated. He just didn't win.
It just depends on who's nominated year. You got these powerhouse performers that are out there in a different show.
Yeah.
So Deaf West, Michael Arden took the musical, like I said, and everything that we just talked about the plot of the musical in 2016, brought it back to the stage in a complete revival, added deafness to the cast. Brenda was deaf. Moritz was deaf. Of the 3 principals, I don't think Elsa was deaf in Deaf Awakening, was she not?
No. I am not sure, to tell you the truth, but I did actually. I really enjoyed that cast a lot.
I don't think she was.
I don't think she was either.
Yeah. What was it? What was it for Tony's best revival? Best direction.
Hold on. Let me look.
By the way, those of you Disney fans out there, Michael Arden did the run of Hunchback of Quasimodo in Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. Incredible. I sat 2 feet from him.
In 2016, it looks like they were only nominated for 2, which is surprising. They were nominated for Best Revival Musical and Best Direction.
Did Arden win?
No.
He wins the following year.
Which, in my opinion, I was surprised by that.
Well, he's a new director there, and he'll get his due with Once on this Island. Which we're covering next, by the way. A couple of songs. Let's talk about the music really quick, because we never talk about the music of Broadway musicals. Go figure.
It's a musical. We never talk about
what I like about this is not completely sung through. This has dialogue. This has story to it. A lot of my favorite musicals are completely sung through. I just prefer musicals that way. because a lot of musicals aren't done well enough to take you in and out, in and out. This one does. This one does just fine with taking you in and out. They used a couple different concepts to do so. One is when you have they have two different ways they display music. One is in intimate moments and in the intimate sexual moments. There's very little actual like stage performance or actually like microphone esque type performance. Is more intimate. It's more typical Broadway esque. And then when they do the big numbers, big stage numbers, they all have microphones. They all do it stage esque kind of style.
I
And
did like that about the
it
show.
really
Is
works.
that they would start to get ready to do a song, and then all of a sudden they pull a microphone out of their shirt.
Yeah, it's great. And the ones that
Yeah,
were sitting in the audience with the other pull up from under the chair and stand up and start singing. I was like, oh, I want to stand up and start singing too. Um, but some of the songs are the highlight of the honesty. You have songs like "Totally Fucked." You have
yep.
songs like "Blah blah blah blah." That's totally
Blah,
fucked up.
blah,
Blah blah.
blah.
It's society. You have songs about womanhood. You have songs about abuse. You have songs about jacking off. There's a song called "Touch Me," which is about masturbation.
Yep.
Where Hanshin sits there and masturbates on stage, center stage.
Yep.
Um, you have nudity in the show where people are, you know, oh, this is spring awakening right there, where people are formulating sex, on stage. You have actual, abuse. They show abuse between two characters, so it's very in your face. And the music highlights that. The music doesn't just do this number and then it gets back to the deep of the story. The music
No.
highlights the deepness of the story. Every song has meaning. Every song drives the plot forward, which is another reason I really like this musicals, because a lot of times musicals, the music numbers are a break in what's going on, so you can enjoy the moment and then get back to the story. This one
Right.
always brings the story forward, always. So it's great. From the opening number to, like I said, they break out in it's very rock, very 90s rock. This was during the age when that style of music was big on Broadway. You had the Green Day musical on Broadway. You had Next to Normal on Broadway, which were all, really powerhouse kind of 90s kind of power ballad, kind of soft rock kind of sound to them. And they worked for this musical because of the youth. The youth of this musical really drives this type of musical performance home, because they go all out in some of these numbers. I mean, they go full on, just almost full on blown concert type feel to it. When they do Bits of Living, all the boys are in class and they're all daydreaming and they get up and they dance and throw chairs around and do all this crazy stuff. When you're on stage with that, you feel the
Feel it. Yeah.
they're really going off on that stuff. And then there's intimate moments, really, really beautiful, powerful. My favorite song in the musical is a ballad, a beautiful ballad that Melchior sings the top of Act Two. And the music doesn't, the musical doesn't shy away from its story.
Mm-mm.
In song, it'll tell you what's happening. We learn from. Well, no, I think all the deaths we
Yeah,
learn
and
from
it's all
dialogue.
right. It's all right in your face too. They don't hide it. They don't sugarcoat it. Nothing.
And that's the point. That's where Duncan Sheik got it right, because he took a book that didn't hide from anything, that was ironically banned. Oh, there's Matilda. And then he wrote a musical that didn't hide anything, which probably would be banned in certain countries as well.
Yeah.
So, it's great.
We highly recommend, if you can
There are
if you
lots
can
of
see
different
it,
words.
you need to see it, because it is definitely worth the watch.
I would love to see Jeff West alive, but there are great recordings out there. You get it from watching the bootleg on there. I encourage. Oh, it's Jake Gyllenhaal singing. So I encourage you to at least watch one of the original productions, the off Broadway, the Broadway, or the tour, and then compare it to the Deaf Awakening. You will get so much more out of Deaf Awakening if you understand the original production
Right.
first. Because they really complement each other incredibly well. And that's it. On Spring
And
Awakening.
that is Spring Awakening, people.
What time is it? Oh, I went a little long.
Let's see. Any closing remarks before we leave?
Next week, we don't think we're streaming for the rest of the week. I am moving.
Yes.
I am moving finally on Saturday. God help us. We're trying. Moving on Saturday to Colorado to be with Kaylee. Kaylee will be with us on Tuesday when we cover This Is Us. We will be covering live from Colorado and regular stream, so we'll both be there during that show, and we'll be back to normal kind of Monday. I may not be on Monday. We'll definitely be on Tuesday, and then I'll be settled in back to normal, just streaming
Yep.
from there. And cold and bitching about the cold, I'm sure.
We wanted to make sure that we brought you guys some content this week. It's been a busy week around here for everybody, so
It's just gonna be too crazy for me tomorrow, I think.
but we will be back next week with a full slate of content for you guys.
Thursday's Broadway. Well, Tuesday we have This Is Us. Thursday we have Broadway, which is going to be Once on This Island.
Once on This Island, yep.
Which I absolutely love. We'll talk about that one. And then what else did we have on the docket for this week?
I do not know what else we have on the docket as of yet. I must talk to the rest of the team because part of our team is on vacation right now. She will be back next week. And so that is where we stand at the moment. So on that note, we are going to get out of here. We really appreciate you guys coming to hang out and supporting us during this interesting week of a lot. But we will be getting back to normal next week to the best of our ability.
Trying to be a new normal for me.
Yeah. So
too, new normal or next normal.
So if you guys have not done so yet, please like and subscribe. Make sure and leave us some comments down below. Let us know if you're enjoying this, what we're bringing to you. Give us, if you have any ideas of anything else you would like us to bring to you, please let us know in the comments below. We'd really appreciate it.
I did want to mention that tonight because we haven't really talked about our format. We're very slowly but expanding this little Broadway section of ours here.
Yeah.
And what we have planned is what you're witnessing tonight is kind of just the early stages of what we're calling evening performances. Basically, when we cover a whole Broadway musical, talk about its history, talk about our experiences with it, just do a big overview of it. We're calling those evening performances. They usually be done on Thursday nights. If we do something special, something like quick, maybe talk about a preview of something or an announcement of something or just something small. We'll call it a matinee and just do a little news blurb on it. So you might see two different things on our channel about that. We're trying to do all sorts of things, trying to grow the Broadway section as far as reactions and filming some first reactions to shows that the girls haven't seen or maybe I haven't seen. Doing possibly some interviews. Working with some other sites out there to collaborate on some of their I'm a member of a bunch of different Broadway forums and stuff out there. Get some folks out there to collaborate. So this is the start.
We also may be talking about some soundtracks and everything that has anything to do with the musical process. We may be talking about that. That will more than likely go into our matinee part.
Yes. So this is a very, very initial process of something we've got a lot of hope for. This segment of Snax. So stay tuned. If there's something you want us to cover, if there's an aspect of Broadway that we may not be hitting on, trust me, we think about it. We're there. Let us know.
Yeah. But we're always looking for new ideas. If you guys come across something and you want us to cover it, please let us know in the comments below.
If there's new stuff out there that you're hearing about that maybe that's out there in the communities that's not quite hit the mainstream yet, let me know. I love to hear stuff like that. There's some recordings going around and stuff. West End, if there's a lot of people knowing a lot of stuff going on in West End, we don't get a lot of that word until it becomes big on West End, so West End's just big as Broadway. Let us know.
And with that, we're going to get out of here and we will catch you guys in the next one.
Cheerio.
You guys have a great night, okay? Thank you so much. Good night.